You know, I had this one all filmed a couple weeks ago, and apparently I deleted the footage or something, and so now we're refilming it. Hey everyone, Dylan Schumacher, Citadel Defense, and we are back with another edition of Tactical Book Review. And today's book is Fry the Brain by John West, The Art of Urban Sniping and Its Role in Modern Guerrilla Warfare. So you've probably seen this book pop up on your Amazon list if you're like me and you have a similar reading algorithm, shall we say. And so you've probably seen this book before. It's fairly well known, I would say. And so I finally decided it was time to get it and give it a read. I am mediocre on this book, I would say. First of all, it's really what it should be called is something like a historical survey of shooting people from hidden positions, or something like that. I say that because he goes through sniping in World War II, and in Stalingrad. He goes through sniping from the German perspective at the fall of the Third Reich. He goes through sniping from certain criminals, right? Like the guy who got on top of the tower in Texas, whose name I already forgot, and shot a bunch of people in the 50s, something like that. He goes through the JFK assassination and his conspiracy theory, I put that in heavy quotes, right? But about how JFK was really killed and how there were 4 snipers and 4 shooters and this whole, it's a long chapter. It's 20, 30 pages. He goes through different examples from the IRA, in Palestine, in Israel, just a bunch of different criminal, war, whatever activities of people using guns to make sniper-like shots at other people. That's really what this is about. So, for a book that really covers all that, I think it's mistitled a little bit. I would call it something like a historical survey of sniping, or something like that, rather than the guerrilla warfare moniker, right? Because when you see that, at least when I saw that, I thought, oh, this book is going to cover more guerrilla warfare type stuff, and it covers some, let's be fair, but I would not say that's the majority of the book. Furthermore, there's a lot of good information here, okay? So let's say that at the outset. There is some good information in here, and if you have the willpower and sustenance to sift through it, you can find some good info in here. However, I think this book is long-winded. I think he probably could have done it in about half the length. This book is 400 and some pages. And I think he could have cut it in half and been just as effective. And then if he really wanted to keep all that other stuff, he could have issued a second volume. But as it stands, he gets long-winded. And some of these chapters, honestly, I'm not even sure why they're in here. Like the JFK assassination one. It kind of just goes through, I don't know if it's his theory or where he's getting it from, honestly, but this huge theory of all these different shooters and how they, shot JFK and whatever. And it's a long chapter. It's 20, 30 pages. And, this print isn't it's not small print here. And I got to the end of that chapter and I thought, what did I learn? Let's just say everything he said is true about the JFK assassination. What did I learn for being a sniper in guerrilla warfare? Right? And I would argue nothing. There's a chapter in here about different weapons you could use for sniping, like a crossbow or a shotgun or a pistol, or he goes through different and explains why and whatever. But again, I'm just kind of why is this chapter in here? There's a lot of chapters in here that I'm confused as to why they're in here at all. And then the chapters that are in there, again, I just think they're very long-winded and could do without being so long-winded. I think he could have used from a brutal editor. So I don't think it's a bad book. I don't think it's poorly written. I don't think there's bad information. I don't think any of that. What's in here is solid. I think John knows what he's talking about. I think it's helpful. But it is much more of a historical survey, and you have to draw your own conclusions, right? So it's not hey, do this, do that, do this, like a manual, like some kind of how-to manual, right? This is much more here's what happened, and then you have to draw your own conclusions or applications or whatever from that, right? You have to do the extra step. And I guess maybe incorrectly, I was just not thinking that's That's what this is. Again, the subtitle, The Art of Urban Sniping and Its Role in Modern Guerrilla Warfare. I don't know if it fulfills that subtitle. I hesitate to say that a little bit because I'm thinking about it, and maybe it does. But by and large, I just think the book's mistitled. I think if it was, hey, a historical survey of sniping, I think I would have read it. I probably would have enjoyed it more. Just because I would have come in with a proper expectation, right? So I think this book probably suffers from some editing issues, subtitle, long-windedness, etc. I don't think it suffers from quality issues as far as the quality of information presented, right? Like when he goes through his historical surveys, I do think they're on point. I do think they're helpful. I do think that if you can do the work to make the extra jumps, that it can be good for you. So should you read this book? I don't know. I guess that depends, right? If you're into like historical military history and you are into using that to make applications to your life and you can suffer through some of the long-windedness, then yeah. What I would tell you is read this book, and when you get to chapters or parts that aren't interesting, I just tell you to skip it. Full disclosure, like the first chapter and the last chapter of this book open with like these little vignettes, and by the time I got to the closing chapter, I just didn't read the last vignette. Just didn't care. I'm just like, I don't need that. That's not going to add value to me here. So I didn't read the last chapter. Maybe that would have totally changed my entire opinion on the book. I doubt it. But, full disclosure. So I think that I would tell you, hey, read this book, read the historical accounts, use that to draw some of your own conclusions and applications and how-tos and SOPs. And when you get to stuff that gets long-winded or starts to get boring, or you look at the chapter and you're like, I don't even know what this is here, skip it. Just skip it. I'm usually a purist. I can't skip parts in books, but I'm trying to get better about that because I only have limited time and I only want to consume the most helpful information and not have to sift through stuff, right? So that is what I would tell you. I don't think it's a bad book. I think it's worth reading with those caveats. This has been Fry the Brain, The Art of Urban Sniping and Its Role in Modern Guerrilla Warfare by John West. I will put an affiliate link in the description below if this interests you. Do brave deeds and endure.